And welcome back to the Doug Karns program here on All Noise Radio. I am your host, Doug Karns. 267-495-4866 is my voicemail line, or shoot me an email at dougkarnsprogram@gmail.com. All right, I know I'm going to have a couple questions on this after the show, so let me just explain the whole pensions and Social Security thing again, the example. All right, for one public worker that has a pension and health benefits that they get paid for such a long time, it takes, let's just say, for example, it takes 20 people to pay for that, with their own paycheck or taxes. So it takes 20 other public workers to pay for that one pension. Well, then those 20 workers each need 20 workers for their pension. So you're talking about 20 workers for each one of the 20. And then it just keeps growing and growing and growing from there to the system collapsed on itself. And it just does not work that way. I know pensions seem great, and health benefits for after you retire sound great, but it just doesn't work. It does not work. You need to depend on your own retirement, not on somebody else's dime, because, as you can see, there's not enough money to go around to pay for your one pension. Those early guys make it out big because they started off with their pensions when the pension programs came out. That was paid for and whatever. Well, eventually, you're not going to get your pension because it's just not going to be enough money. So far down the line, you're not going to get your pension. Some generation's not going to get it. So anyways, I just wanted to reiterate that and kind of explain it a little better than I did in the last segment. So, all right, let's finish up here with Rick Perry and Mitt Romney on Social Security. And I am not a Mitt Romney fan. He does not have my vote. I can tell you that. He's a big progressive Republican who wants big government, just a little less than Barack Obama does. And Rick Perry, as you can tell from his immigration answer, I can't say that I'm going to vote for him now, because he's not tough on immigration, and coming up after the Social Security thing, he forced people, little 12-year-old girls in his state, to get the HPV vaccination, which is a sexually transmitted disease, and he signed an executive order for all 12-year-old girls to get this vaccination. Now, that is so unconstitutional, it's not even funny. All right, let's finish up with Social Security, and we'll come back to that.
So that our young Americans that are going out into the workforce today will know without a doubt that there were some people who came along that didn't lie to them, that didn't try to go around the edges, and told them the truth.
Governor Romney, you've said that Governor Perry's position on Social Security is, quote, unacceptable and could even obliterate the Republican Party. Are you saying he could not, as Republican nominee, beat Barack Obama?
No, what I'm saying is that what he just said, I think most people agree with, although the term Ponzi scheme, I think, is over the top and unnecessary and frightful to many people. But the real issue is that in writing his book, Governor Perry pointed out that in his view, that Social Security is unconstitutional, that this is not something the federal government ought to be involved in, that instead it should be given back to the states. And I think that view, and the view that somehow Social Security has been forced on us over the past 70 years, that by any measure, again, quoting from his book, by any measure, Social Security has been a failure. This is after 70 years of tens of millions of people relying on Social Security. That's a very different matter. So the financing of Social Security, we've all talked about at great length. In the last campaign, 4 years around, John McCain said it was bankrupt. I put in my book a series of proposals as to how to get it on sound financial footing so that our kids can count on it, not just our current seniors. But the real question is, does Governor Perry continue to believe that Social Security should not be a federal program, that it's unconstitutional, and it should be returned to the states? Or is he going
to... Let me answer that. Yes. Send it back to the states, and go as far as send it to the local communities. It goes all back to my local tax plan that I'm 95% sure I know would work.
Treat from that view.
Let's let Governor Perry respond. You have 30 seconds.
If what you're trying to say is that back in the 30s and the 40s that the federal government made all the right decisions, I disagree with you. And It's time for us to get back to the Constitution and a program that's been there 70 or 80 years. Obviously, we're not going to take that program away. But for people to stand up and support what they did in the 30s or what they're doing in the 2010s is not appropriate for America.
But the question is, do you still believe that Social Security should be ended as a federal program, as you did 6 months ago when your book came out, and returned to the states? Or do you want to retreat from that?
I think we ought to have a conversation.
We're having that right now, Governor.
Yes, sir. If you'll let me
we're running for president.
I'll finish this conversation. But the issue is...
See, this is where I'm getting tired of the wish-washy answers from Rick Perry and even Mitt Romney. Like, these guys are so playing to the polls and the focus groups that I can't take it. This is why I love Michelle Bachmann and Rick Santorum. And frankly, Ron Paul, besides, which I'm not even playing tonight, his awful, awful foreign policy answer about how we caused 9/11, that was an atrocious answer by him. But at least he says what he means. He just comes out and says it. He doesn't play to... Obviously, he's not playing to focus groups or polls with that kind of answer. That's all we're asking for, is just people just to speak their mind, mean what you say, and say what you mean. That's all we want. But Rick Perry and Mitt Romney and Barack Obama and all these other big guys, they pander to the crowd. And we're tired of that. We want somebody with real solutions, with real answers, like Michelle Bachmann and Rick Santorum. I mean, those two would make a great ticket for being president. It'd be almost like Coolidge and Harding. So I'm getting tired of these wish-washy answers. Like Rick Perry, stick to your guns and say, yes, I believe it should not be a federal program anymore. Don't come out with the typical language of, yeah, I think we need to have a conversation in this country. No, you come out and say it. No, it should not be a federal program anymore. If that's what you believe, that's what you believe. I think we all can agree that Social Security needs help. And let's figure out a way to fix it so people who are on it now can stay on it, and the people who are about to go on it can stay on it. And then people before us, in my generation, can at least somewhat depend on it if we, make it to a certain age or not. But at this rate, it's going downhill. It's so bankrupt. I mean, did anybody see this article a couple weeks ago on Mail Online that the or not Mail Online, I'm sorry, that it was on the Blaze, and about the post office going bankrupt? They are so far in debt that they need to either adjust or they're going to shut down for the wintertime. Does anybody find how the federal government cannot run a business or any kind of financial program? They're, they are incapable of making a $5.5 billion payment to its employee health care plan. Like, does anybody see how out of control this is? And they're threatening to, the only way they can fix this is that they're going to shut down Saturday deliveries and shut down, 3,000 post offices all over the country. What is that going to do to jobs? So the government's even hurting our whole jobs thing. They're going to hurt our unemployment. So why do we keep depending on these people? Why? Social Security is bankrupt. Our post office is bankrupt. Our Defense Department's bankrupt. Everything is bankrupt. We are approaching $15 trillion in debt, and we're doing nothing about it. All right, back to the debate.
Are there ways to move the states into Social Security for state employees or for retirees? We did it in the state of Texas back in the 1980s. I think those types of thoughtful conversations with America, rather than trying to scare seniors like you're doing and other people, it's time to have a legitimate conversation in this country about how to fix that program where it's not bankrupt and our children actually know that there's going to be a retirement program there for them.
Governor, the term Ponzi...
Can we stop calling it a retirement program? That is not what it was meant for under the huge progressive FDR. It was called Social Security Insurance, SSI. It was insurance in case you lived past the time that you were supposed to leave this world. And it was insurance, not a retirement plan. And that's the problem. That's why this thing is bankrupt, because we turned it into a retirement plan. And it's not supposed to be that way. All right, we're coming up against the break here, so I just want to move on real quick to Bachmann and Perry on this whole HPV vaccination, because I need to get this out here, because if some guy is willing to sign an executive order to do this in Texas, then he would be willing to do it in the federal government. And this is not what we need. Executive orders like this are what help progress the big government that we have today.
If I had it to do over again, I would have done it differently. I would have gone to the legislature, worked with them. But what was driving me was obviously making a difference about young people's lives. Cervical cancer is a horrible way to die. And I happen to think that what we were trying to do was to clearly send the message that we're going to give moms and dads the opportunity to make that decision with parental opt-out. Parental rights are very important in the state of Texas.
Yeah, but you know what, Mr. Perry? How about an opt-in instead of an opt-out? Because you're saying that, oh, well, if you go through the work, you can opt out of it. But if not, they're forced to do it. How about just informing the people of your state that this is a good vaccination that your teenagers should get, instead of forcing them? This is a parental decision for a 12-year-old girl. This is not a state or federal decision at best. It's only for the parents to decide, not for you to sign an executive order and force people to do it.
We do it on a long list of vaccines that are made. But on that particular issue, I will tell you that I made a mistake by not going to the legislature first. Let me address Ron Paul just a minute by saying I will use an executive order to get rid of as much of Obamacare as I can on day one.
Congressman,
that answer was just to get the crowd to clap, because with the Tea Party sitting there, he knows what he did was totally wrong, and they do not agree with it. So that was a perfect, cup game where he showed you the ball and he moved it around, and then the crowd clapped for his nice answer at the end there. Yeah, repeal Obamacare. Yeah. I mean, he was pandering to the crowd, and I hate that. I hate that with a passion. It was just such a good switch around for him to because the Tea Party was not happy with that. The Tea Party does not like big government, and you're showing that. And this is why he does not. At first, I thought he was going to be a great candidate, but the more he talks, the more he shows himself, the more I can't vote for him. I really can't.
Obamacare as I can on day one.
Congressman Bachmann, do you have a problem with anything that Governor Perry just said? You're a mom.
I'm a mom, and I'm a mom of 3 children. And to have innocent little 12-year-old girls be forced to have a government injection through an executive order is just flat out wrong. That should never be done. That's a violation of a liberty interest. That's little girls who have a negative reaction to this potentially dangerous drug don't get a mulligan. They don't get a do-over. The parents don't get a do-over. That's why I fought so hard in Washington, D.C. against President Obama and Obamacare. President Obama, in a stunning, shocking level of power now, just recently told all private insurance companies, you must offer the morning after abortion pill because I said so, and it must be free of charge. That same level coming through executive orders and through government dictates is wrong. And that's why, again, we have to have someone who's absolutely committed to the repeal.
All right, we'll finish this up when we come right back.